your nerves, girl. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm.
Hi.
Hey there.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. Happy International Women's Month.
Right. And in honor of that,
yes,
we have some really great things. But before we get started, how was church?
Church was good. I don't know if you know, I sing in the praise team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And it was 2 songs we sang over and over again multiple times. But it's funny when you come together and you get up there and it's like, oh, but after we prayed and after we practiced, the Spirit came over and it was just awesome. It was awesome.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, I had 2 people come up to me and be like, y'all sounded good today.
Oh, okay.
And you can't help but say, thank you, Jesus. So, because that's what we do it before. But yeah.
So it sounds like you weren't expecting it to come off that well.
No. There was this one note that I was just like, just because every so often there's a note that's weird, and if you aren't on top of it, it goes flat. Okay. Just like my voice crack right there. Right. But if you're not on top of it, it will go flat. And one flat can just take the, you're not supposed to, when you're up there singing and praising, you're not supposed to it's not you. Yeah, you're supposed to allow the Spirit, but it's the devil is strong, and so he'll be like, that is the wrong voice, and take everything out of character. But it didn't. Okay, good. I don't even know if the note was right or wrong, but it was just awesome.
It was flowing.
Yeah,
and as long as the message got out, right, whether it's or it's still the same message. Yes. So,
and I don't do it for me. If one person out there is spoken to because of the words we sing or the melody, it's awesome. So yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah. So shall we get into character? Where are your glasses at?
Absolutely. Let me get my glasses on.
Because yes, this is 8 lenses, the Black Mom Podcast.
The Black Mom Podcast. Yes. This is our pilot.
Yes. Or inaugural podcast.
That's beautiful.
Yes. Hey. I'm excited. Great job for starting. Yes. Yes. As Black moms, we often don't feel like we have the time or room to start, and so I am proud of us for starting.
Me too. Not only the time and room, but just the do we have enough authority, or can we do this? Yeah. Do we, is anybody gonna listen to us? Yeah. Because who am I to be telling you all the things, right?
Yeah. And then is it gonna work, or are people gonna listen, or are we gonna say some of the wrong things?
Right.
And that's, as Black moms, we often doubt ourselves before we even get started. And so I'm super proud of us for doing this.
I am too. And I really am leaning into not doing it for Black moms at large, but first and foremost doing it for myself as a Black mom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because this experience is very real and it's very lived. And if my sharing can help or support someone else, that's great. But first and foremost, I'm going to be really selfish and do it because I want to do it for me.
You know what? I love that because I can say the same thing as well, or you've just encouraged me to say the same thing, because my thought process of doing this was to help other moms, help other busy moms. Sure. And when you just reminded me that, I need to do this for myself.
Right.
Gosh, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom at that. Busy with working out, with work, demanding job. And then, I have a son that's super active, but I don't take the time to do for me.
Right.
And, I work out, and that's doing for me, but it's not the same as having this.
Yeah.
Because I'm at work, and so I'm talking about work. Sure. I'm at home, so I'm talking about, do you have this? Did you make your lunch? Did you take a shower? Did you do this? Did you do that?
Sure.
And then driving everywhere. And then I'm with other parents, but we're talking about our kids.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to be doing this for me.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
This brings to mind a term that I heard Alicia Keys say. So I don't know if this is her phrase or not, but this is the definition of what I would call, or what she calls, soul care.
Okay.
Right?
Soul care.
Soul care.
Like as
so
opposed
instead
to
of like
self-care, yep,
but
ditto.
really getting into your soul and the care of
you
and
your
that
soul.
whole energy that makes you and me and that kind of thing. So,
and I love the fact that we're being selfish about it, because
we should.
Yeah, we should. And not selfish in a negative way.
Absolutely
but selfish in a way that takes care of us.
Right.
Because we are beautiful, whole beings, and oftentimes we don't take the time to soul love or self love, and we're constantly giving. Yep. And I heard something, I read something that says, how can you give out of a cup?
Empty cup.
Out of an empty cup.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So fill your cup first.
Sure.
And when you fill your cup up first, when we fill our cups up first, the overflow is amazing.
Sure.
Because we're filling us up, and we're concentrating on our souls and ourself and our loving ourselves, and that overflow is nothing but positivity. So
I 100% agree. I did have a quick thought on when you said selfish, and no, it isn't selfish, but it is self-actualization.
Yes.
Like we are really in those levels of just beyond like the scratching and surviving. I mean, this is the kind of place that most women, unfortunately, especially Black women, don't get to enjoy. Because we're so busy doing for everyone and making sure that level of self-actualization, or there was another self term that came into my mind, but it's gone. But I think self-actualization really embodies what I'm saying. Really getting beyond who we are and into those creative spaces that we just don't get to explore because when you're busy doing all the other levels, when do you have time to do that? So this selfishness is really more about that than anything else. And that's a beautiful space to create from.
I'd love to dive a little deeper into what you said about the scratching and clawing.
Sure.
And trying to get it all done. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like when we talk about, us as being Black moms and taking care of ourselves in a way that nourishes us, how do you, why do we tend to want to always give? Why is that?
I really believe it has to do with our role in the household, in the in the family, and then in the community. And I think that it stems from just that maternal giving and supporting and taking care of, and that spills into so many different pools. I just think that in some ways we're like hardwired to do. I mean, when you think about it, the health of a community is really in the backbone of moms. Because they're, having the kids and taking them to school and, making sure that the programs are set up, that they're serving the certain communities. And I'm not saying that men don't do that, but generally speaking, we are the ones who create the programs because we need the programs. Like the, infant mother care programs because of our birth rates being so low. The, breakfast programs, the whatever kind of schooling or special programs that you need to support your families. Those are typically run by us and sought out by us.
Created by us.
Right. I think it's just a stem from that. What are your thoughts?
I think it has to do with how we're brought up and what we've seen our mothers do or go through. I come from a 2-parent home, and my dad always worked, and it wasn't my dad that I saw work. It was my mom that I saw work. The cooking, the cleaning, the sitting back and being strong and taking this and taking that and rolling her sleeves up and just getting it done and not complaining and not complaining in front of us. And just from, I guess, my lens, almost suffering through to achieve and ensure that we had what we needed. I'm the oldest of 3, and it's just I just remember just her from my lens, being strong, but at the same time, uh, also just struggling, and not necessarily doing what she wanted to do, but what she felt she had to do. Yeah. Because she had to be the wife, she had to be the mother, she had to be the housekeeper, she had to be the bus driver. Mm-hmm. She had to be it all. Yep. And I don't know. I think that's superwoman, but at the same time, it's also kind of disheartening a little bit, because I never really understood or knew what she wanted. Yeah. Because it wasn't something that we talked about. And so I think that's partly why a lot to do with why I'm constantly doing, and not the soul care, not the taking time for me. Am I doing this, or not sitting back and saying, am I doing this because it's going to fulfill me? Mm-hmm. I just do it because I know it's going to be good for my kid, or it's going to be my son, or it's going to be good for my sister or my brother or my friend. And, so I love the fact, again, that you brought it back to doing it for me.
Yeah, for sure. Since we are on the subject, or do you want to move on, or?
No, what, did you have something on that?
Sure. Yeah. Because I just wanted to kind of put a lens on my experience, which was a little different. I came from a single parent home. However, I think the more influential one was my grandmother, because she was just kind of like the nucleus. And because my mom was a single parent, she heavily relied on my grandmother and grandfather to like pick up, the not the slack, but just
the remainder.
We won't call it slack. Yeah. And as kids, that was our preferred space anyway, because the shelves are always stocked at grandmother's house. The kids are always there. If there's multiple rooms. We grew up in apartments. I have a brother. We shared rooms until he went off to college. So until I was like 12, we shared a room. So there was space issues. Wow. That wasn't the case at grandmother's house.
And with the brother.
Wow. But that was what, in fact, we lived in their unit. So it worked out, I in some ways, I'm sure, beneficially for my mom. But yeah, there wasn't a ton of space. And because of that, I felt like, I don't want to say, a little bit invisible. Because I think at a certain point in your life, you have particular needs. You work with what you have, but I know that just being the type of person I am, I had specific emotional needs that I didn't feel like were being met, simply because of the lack of the things that we had, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But I didn't feel that so much at my grandmother's house. But my grandmother was not maternal. She did not really know how to cook. She was an educator. She was very active in the community, active in the church. She had multiple degrees. She was kind of like the computer type. I don't know if you remember, like, from that movie. Yeah. She was very cerebral, and she had a lot of, she lost her mom at a young age, so she never got that maternal rearing and that whole thing. She was very driven. And and the funny thing was, my grandfather was like the complete opposite. He was just like the steady tortoise that wins the race. And so while she had all these wild, dreams and ambitions, he was just the steady Eddie. And when she was doing all that schooling, he made sure that the kids, my parent and aunts, got the dinner and the homework and such. So by the time I was, she was like, my grandmother was like my older parent almost. Yeah. I'm not seeing that, but I am seeing success. I am seeing drivenness, but I am missing the emotional connection, the that maternal coddling that you feel. Like, I would get in my grandmother's good graces if I cleaned up, or if I went to church with her, or if I, it was acts of services that really was kind of like the winning thing for my grandmother, which in some ways sets up things that maybe I'm not super proud of now, like just kind of my love languages and the way I tend to people please. It has a lot to do with the way my grandmother was kind of emotionally available. Yeah. And in some ways, I think my mom too was emotionally unavailable, simply because she was a single mom and she lacked a lot of things, and she, you know, didn't have a great career, so she just worked to pay the bills. And I'm sure, you know, she struggled with wanting to be loved in a certain way and not having that. So, you know, she did find Christ, and then she married, and then that whole mission started.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that felt really different in my life. So it was like my mom wasn't emotionally available, and then it was like her life was turned over to Christ, and then it was like all about that.
Yeah.
So it kind of was feeling like, well, what
about me?
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, I am kind of just reparenting myself, and that speaks to this, you know, what I represent, how much I give, what my role is, and the deficits that I think we have as Black moms.
Yeah. I love that you brought up your grandmother. So it's interesting. So my mom didn't have that nurturing, that it was, I feed you, I take you, I clothe you, or for me, I take you to the what is it, the thrift store, the thrift store, and you pick from there. Right. When my sister was born, she got my stuff, but she also got new stuff. And then when my brother was born, it was just, you get on there, because of course he's a boy, the baby. But I'll go back to, you brought up your grandmothers, and so my mom didn't have the nurturing, but you know, I grew up a military brat, so we moved all over the place, and so we had the opportunity every summer to go visit my dad's mom and my mom's mom. And when we went to visit my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, we also had my great grandmother.
Oh yeah, and so, that's amazing.
And so just I have tons of memory of getting that nurturing from them, sitting next to my great grandmother while she ate ate onions like they were apples.
Oh wow!
And her phrase was always, you know, it's better to sacrifice. It's better to sacrifice than sin. And then because you know they're Christian, grew up in the church with
absolutely.
And then with my grandmother, she bless her heart, rest in peace. I love my grandmother so much. She taught me the value of and the sins of credit cards.
Oh, okay.
Because of her, I don't have credit cards.
That was a wonderful lesson.
I mean, I'm thankful that we had the experiences to go and visit them, because of, you know, it's molded me to how I am today.
That's amazing.
And my dad's mom, she cooked, loved to cook, and just it was always her home in which everybody went to. And so because of my grandmothers, I have and know, because in the military we're all over the place. Okay. And all of my cousins stayed home and stayed, you know, and so they had the grandma experience all the time. And so it was just awesome to have that experience. And because they didn't see us as often as they saw the other kiddos, it was always that. It was all. And so you talked about, what about me? I had that at home, but I knew when we would go visit grandma and great grandma, it was all about us.
Oh yeah,
all about us.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, having, I would say that being able to see and feel both.
Sure.
I would say, because the majority of it was the, what about me? Because I am the oldest, and so you need to do this, and you need to do that, and you need to do this, and you need to be strong. And I grew up with acne, having acne and being super dark. I was made fun of.
Yes.
And it's, you know, my mom didn't, you know, give me the nurturing that I would give my child today.
Sure.
Thank God he's not bullied. Okay. It was, wash your face, suck it up.
Yeah.
You're not even going to know them later. Okay. Why are you crying?
Right.
And I appreciate that. I've learned to appreciate it. I resented it a long time, but I learned to appreciate it because it did make me strong and somewhat guarded, and cold.
Yeah.
But strong. And I am strong now and resilient now.
Yes.
And I can handle, like, I'm in corporate America now, where I'm the only Black female.
Absolutely.
In the room among those that do not look like me.
Right. Yeah, you're the only. I know exactly what you mean, girl.
Yeah. And because of being able to have those types of Suck it up. They're going to talk about you. Suck it up. They're not going to like you. You're going to walk in the room and be different. Suck it up. Yeah. But still be excellent.
Right.
I owe that to my mom.
Yeah.
I do. Would my life be a little different had I had the nurturing? I'm sure. I'd probably be married. Yeah. Right? Maybe. I don't know. But you know, I'm successful in the career that I have because I was able to still be excellent among all the attacks. And so, yeah.
What I'm hearing is balance or a lack of.
Yeah.
And I think because our parents came from a completely different climate, their rearing was completely different than ours. And so while we're really resilient in so many areas, we're raising kids that don't have the same.
They do not have the same resilience. Oh my gosh. I was looking at this reel the other day, and the dad was like, these kids are made different. They're made different. He was like, we used to climb out the window and do things in the dark and climb up trees and ride bikes at it. Like, we had this hill where I grew up, in the last place my dad PCS, which was called Spring. It's called Dead Man's Hill. We used to ride our bikes down that hill and just pop wheelies and all this good stuff. And he was like, kids these days, they don't even take the trash out in the dark. And I laughed out loud because my son, bless his heart, he's doing a great job. He takes the trash out every Sunday. Well, we have this big spider in our backyard. I call him Wilbur, and I'm like, Wilbur ain't messing with nobody. He's not. My son couldn't find Wilbur. He was like, I am not taking the trash out. I cannot find Wilbur. I was like, Wilbur, it's cold. I said, Wilbur is not out here right now. It's cold. Take the trash out. He was like, Mom, I need a light. Yes. I was like, the light is on. Take the trash out. And I look, and they're not made like we are, and neither are we. My mom would have been like, take that, get out of my face.
Right.
I'm like, okay, let me get the light for you, and let me help you. And so he eventually did it, but he did it with my help, not by itself. Right. So
he needed you close just in case Wilbur came up in an uninspected area, because talk about 8 lenses.
Right. I need 8 lenses, 8 lights. I need everything. Right.
8 arms to kill this 8-legged
raid. Like, don't mess with it. Don't leave Wilbur alone. He gonna go somewhere else. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. What is that about being afraid of the dark? My son will be like, can you stand on the porch when I have 3 lights outside and then I'm like, well, why don't you take it out when it's not dark?
Right. That part. Why'd you wait so late? You know what it is? Probably. Did he have a nightlight as a baby?
Not really. I don't think so. I mean, we had them, but once the battery ran out, it wasn't like the nightlight has to be on all the time.
Yeah. So I always had a little plug-in with the light for my son. So I think it's my fault because he always had some kind of illumination. I even had it where he had stars above him.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah. So yeah, and I'm afraid of spiders, so I'll claim that one too. I don't like. I don't know who likes spiders.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I think there's 2 big. We're completely off subject, but that's okay. It's kind of fun. Let's just go with it.
8 lenses, all the perspectives.
There's either snakes or spiders. You know what I'm saying? Like that's I cannot. I think there's a group of people who I cannot, or mice. There's the mice person, the snake person, and the spider person. I'm a spider person. Like I cannot ever at all.
I got a story for all 3 of them, and I don't know.
I could do the snake. I could do the mouse. I could care less about those. Like whatever.
Yeah.
But if it has 6 legs, it's not a problem. But you add those extra 2, and I am just.
Yeah. So thinking about the 3 stories. So, it's spider. No, I can't do spiders. I've had, like, in college, I had a mouse. And it was fine. My roommate, she was like, we can't live here.
Yeah. And that is a real reaction to that.
Yeah. And then the snake piece, I was hiking in Chabot, actually. Part of my self-care, soul care, is I hike now.
Oh, nice.
And so we'll have to get into that. How do we How do we do that as moms, being so busy? How do we
right? I'm like, when do you have time to do all this? Sometimes I think that you don't realize that you being alone has its benefits and privileges because your time is yours.
We'll have to lean into that one. We will. Because me being alone as a benefit and a privilege, we'll have to lean into that one a little bit. I have a different perspective, but
of course you do. Yes. Of course you do.
But no, I hike, and that is like I love to hike because you have the opportunity to appreciate what God just his massiveness and his awesomeness. Sure. But there was a snake, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna let you go, and then I walked. Yeah.
Now imagine if that were like a larger spider, because I have seen those
I would have left
around here. like right here on Lake Chabot, where it is in the summer, they kind of come out, and the size, like baby tarantulas, like not kidding. And almost like when they're that big, they're not as scary because they're almost like
you can't move
dogs or something. They're like they're huge. You're like, oh, you're kind of beautiful a little bit, like not, but it's different. It's weird, I know. But so it's coming out of wherever, and I'm just like, if it's right that close, it could be. We're not far away. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see some of the things that are in the Amazon, where you're like, oh, that's the Amazon. I'm cool. But then it's like, if it's just right there.
No.
Yeah.
No. But I think that can bring us back to that's how we are with as moms as well. You know, I like with my son. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a working mom. I am alone. I'm a single mom. Mm-hmm. I'm not alone. I'm a single mom.
Single, yes.
You know, a competitor. Mm-hmm. Meaning I actually have a strategic process to take care of my body.
Okay.
But I'm constantly, it's constantly in my head. Did I do the right thing? I told him to eat potatoes. Is that the right thing to do? I'm letting him ride his bike to school. Is that the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. There could be a car that come around the corner. Like, just like you said, it's big, but is it scary? It's something that's there, but is it scary? And I think, I go back to how I was brought up. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It's hot. If you touch it, you're gonna get burnt.
Sure.
But I'm not gonna close the oven. I already told you. And I touched it, got a scar. I'm all right. That is why my son is independent and like he is today. Mm-hmm. I let him walk to his elementary school by himself.
Oh wow!
When he was 6. And my friend was like, "What are you doing? Something's good." I was like, I grew up in the time where, what was the show called about the kids that were stolen? What was that show called? Yes, it was a show that talked about kidnapped kids all the time. It was I remember in 1984.
Oh, right. Yes,
what was it?
Yes, I don't remember.
She was like, that could happen. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, it could. Mm-hmm. But I'm also thinking, it doesn't. It may not.
It may not.
It may not. Yeah. And I have to lean into that because I have to go to work. I don't have any family around. I have to take my mom. It'll be all right. Suck it up. It'll be all right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my son is independent like that today, to the point where, going to the alone piece, to the point where I feel like I'm not needed anymore.
Oh, yes. I understand that.
And so it's like, I almost don't know what to do with my time. And it's by myself. And then, like earlier today, you do one thing at a time. I'm doing 6 things. There were so many things that I'm by myself because I don't want to sit there and be by myself. Yeah, and deal with my thoughts and my thinking and this and that. So
I think it's one of those classic scenarios of greener grasses.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like, when I don't have a lot of personal time, I have to really be intentional about carving out that space because I'm taking care of the children, just making sure. What I mean by taking care of them, they're all teenagers and 2 of them are out of the house. But are their needs being met? I've taken on Right. I'm taking on the role of being the kitchen manager.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my lens, that's like the heart of the home and the nucleus.
Yep.
And so that's kind of where I need the most control. I'm a little bit of a control freak. So it's like, well, that is a very big duty, because there's multiple meals coming out of there every day, and the cabinets need to be restocked on a regular basis, and things need to be cleaned. And so that is always like a full-time job.
Yes, it is.
And then, making sure my son gets to where he has to go, whether he's going skating or whatever his particular needs are. And then also making sure my husband has his needs met. And then it's like, sometimes I'm like, well, I'm tired. Like, girl dinner, because I've just done so much that I'll just eat a bag of chips and some carrot sticks and then I'm done, because it's like I don't really even want to do all that because I've already done so much. So and then I don't have a regular job. I am an entrepreneur, and with that you don't get those confinement of hours. Mm-hmm. You're kind of like, all these things need to be done and it's just me. And so in my free time, I need to build this system and do this and check with that and get that email flow and all the things. And so it's like, there is always work to be done in some capacity. And so just that idea of pausing, stopping, resting, being intentional with my time. I'm working more now than I have in my whole life. It just feels like, there's not a lot of me time. Like that idea of hiking, I'm like, how would I schedule that into my
day? Well, how do you? Because when you were talking about, all the things as an entrepreneur, you have the kids, you have the husband, you have and I don't want to say job, I want to say your career, mm-hmm. your businesses. Mm-hmm. You have your son, and then you have yourself. Like with me, I have my job, I have my career, I have starting to lean into the businesses. Mm-hmm. I have, I'm going to market my book that I wrote. I have my son. We'll definitely
have to go into that.
Yes. I have my son. I have all the things. So how do you carve out the time?
What comes to mind right away is I don't. But when I do, it's generally that first thing in the morning or late at night. And that could just be planning or saying affirmations or doing visualizations. I always have like that morning time where I'm just kind of feeding myself, because that is what's motivating me to get power through the day.
Yeah.
And in a different space, I was maybe more like self-care Sunday. Or, I have this really amazing women's brunch group that I meet with regularly. So that is like a non-negotiable me time. And so in some ways, it's like, if I can just put all of that in that basket of fulfillment, then that's okay, because that is so necessary.
A me day. We tend to stay there for a long time.
I know. It's more than brunch. It's like, ooh, it's 5 o'clock. My whole family needs me now. They're blowing me up. But yeah, I do sometimes. It's funny because even though I do have all of these like roles, and then there's cats. That's a whole nother story. Sometimes I feel alone.
Define alone.
Like, I have this world in my head that no one cares to know about. I can't share it with anybody, and if I do, it's like, meh. Sometimes I go in my son's room and I'm like wanting to hang out with him and be in his space and like, chill. And he's like, Mom, get out of here. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you want to watch a movie later.
No.
Or like, honey, do you want to do something? Should we go whatever? And if his schedule and my schedule don't align, which a lot of times they don't, simply because we just have different work styles in general. I am left to, for many hours of the day, I'm just doing me.
So why not call a friend?
Right. I guess because I'm so tethered to, doing me, but in the confinement of what I need to do for business or for home. So then calling a friend or something feels like it's outside of that. Yeah. Now you said calling a friend, right? Not being with a friend.
Calling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good. I'm not necessarily that person, but that's sometimes what. Okay, let me be honest, because I'm giving you like the surface answer. One, I feel that I don't have that connection with a friend right now. Two, my sister, I think, is that person for me. There would probably be a lot more complaints than I'm comfortable with because I do need to kind of unload some things.
Not even necessarily comfortable with that you want to deal with. Like you called because you were calling, not to be dumped on. So no, I get that.
Yeah, and so I don't want to be that person, but I would in some way feel like compelled.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I feel the same.
I want to be a good friend. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know that I'm always able to be a good friend.
Well, good friends are someone you can talk to about anything, even sit there and say nothing. So it's not, I mean, yeah. So I mean, I feel the same way. You know, I could relate to a lot of what you were saying about, especially about, you know, having all of these things in my head and not feeling like I have someone to talk to about it, because in my home, it's just my son. And my son, you know, I'd love to go to the movies with him. I'd love to go and, you know, play the games with him. Like I was a master with, you know, Pac-Man and Atari and Nintendo. But it's not those anymore.
Old school.
It's so old school. It's my son's real good. He doesn't say I'm embarrassing, but he does also not want to hang out with me.
Yeah.
And so you know, going to the question of how you carve those things in, how do I hike? How do I fit the time to hike? So I'm a little, like earlier you said you were a control freak. So I'm a little bit of a control freak as well, a lot of a control freak. And I have plans.
Okay.
Like I have something called a leader standard work that I learned as I was getting my certification in Six Sigma. There's, you know, in Lean Six Sigma, you figure out a process to be able to eliminate waste. Yes. And so my day is like bam, 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 bam. I get up super early in the morning and I give my first to God. I go walking 30 minutes where I'm, you know, just it's just me and my devotional and the world around me. And you know, then I got my kiddo. He gets up, he walks our dog. I do the food. We go to school. I go to work. You know, 100% at work, and then come back and I'm mom again. And it's, you know, 5:30. This and this and that. This and this and that. But it's all timed. It's all timed. It's all, you know, planned out. But if anything is outside of that plan, it throws everything off. And because I'm so stuck to that plan, and that makes me feel alone, because I'm so stuck to a plan and it always has to be this regimented that I'm always sometimes I'm even told I'm anal.
Okay.
And it's not that well, I don't feel like I'm being anal, but I feel like I need to have that plan and have that structure in order for all the things that need to get done.
Yes, you're very regimented.
Yeah, very. To my detriment sometimes, because there's so much and things happen all the time. And if it doesn't happen in that particular time, it doesn't get done. And so I feel alone because I don't have someone that I can talk with and be like, how do I help me? How do I get it done? Because I don't know how to ask for help.
Okay.
And so that's why I was like, why not call a friend?
Right.
Yes. And I'm saying that to myself too. Okay. And I think that's how we got this started.
Because I would agree.
I finally was like, let me just call a friend. Yeah. Yep.
Call a friend.
Call a friend. Yay.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there is a saying, and it really speaks to this. If you want to go fast, do it alone. But if you want to go far, do with others, or something like that. In other words, you're going to get further faster when you involve a team. Because there's only so much that you can do. And so, that's where that, because I'm sure this was probably an idea that was bubbling, and you called me up, and then weeks later, and here we are.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening.
And likewise for me, like, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I've done a lot of dry runs and false starts. And so just the, we're to agree, it's that kind of a thing.
Yep. And I think with both of us being control freaks, there's a little bit of perfectionism that is mingled into there. And I think that's what's going to make this so great, is that we're not focused on our definitions of perfect, and that's what's going to make it perfect.
Done is better than perfect.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a plan. And when you don't have a plan, you fail. And we have a plan. So there's nothing but success for this.
And thank you for that plan. Because you pretty much outlined it all the way. I was like, I better fall in line because it's all written out for me. So there's no.
But earlier you talked about balance. You're super creative, and I can't wait to bring out that, what is that alter ego that you have in there about the formulas and stuff. That's why we got these classes.
Right.
You're very creative. I'm super regimented. I think it's a fantastic combination.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the first one, huh?
I guess so. Any final thoughts?
No, I'm just excited. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about, what's to come. Yeah. And I'm excited about, building upon what we started in that plan, and your creativity and my regiment. What about you?
No, I don't have any final thoughts necessarily. I'm really excited about the process because we're on episode 1. And so, it's totally fine. I'm completely present in this moment, but I am looking forward to episode 333. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hercules.
Then you really have a footprint and a body of work, and that turns into something really powerful. It kind of like snowballs into all of this stuff. So just the fact that, it's one foot in front of the other, but you keep doing that and you get miles down the road. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
It's also exciting because we oftentimes, this is a Black mom podcast.
Sure.
And as Black moms and as Black women, we oftentimes are stifled by the perfection. And I think we're encouraged by the opportunity and the excitement. And so that just brings, joy to my heart, because I tend to start things, a lot of things, and not finish them. And I love the fact that we're starting, and there's not necessarily a finish in mind. There's a progression and a growth in mind.
Yeah.
And so we're leaning into our starts, and you finish things. You are good at that. Like I think you told me one time you did 40 videos in one day. Like, yes, give me some of that. So we can just.
Were they quality?
Yes.
Or were they just quantity?
Yes, they were. I'm 100% confident they were. So, yes.
So if you're here and you are at this point in the episode, I implore you to get started.
Get started. Should we say our names and introduce ourselves?
Absolutely.
Yes. And it's interesting, you talked about, like, you grew up with a single mom, and I grew up with a 2-family home, and now you're a married mother, and I'm a single mother. So it's bringing it all together, full circle, and I'm excited about that.
It really does. Yeah. And I just want to really appreciate you, because that title is so fitting. When I first heard 8 lenses, I was like, this is really coming out of nowhere. This is so what's the word? Abstract.
Yes.
Like, you gotta break it down for me. But just in having this conversation, it's just on target.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
Kudos
Love it.
to you.
Well, I'm Kenesha Bell, and I'm a part of the 8 lens. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm the single mom. Yes.
And what else about you?
Oh, so
you're a lot more than that.
Mom of a teenager, Army brat, we talked about that.
Published author.
I am a published author.
Can you give us a little bit?
Yeah. So there's a 21-day program for your health, a 21-day program for your spirit, a 21-day program for self-love, but there isn't one for all three. Okay. And that's what my book is about. It's a 21-day program that it talks about your mind, your body, and your soul. Oh. And it's goal-oriented. It gives you small tips on how to build in a more holistic life and gives you the tools to sustain that. So the title, and where can the viewers find it? The title is You Renewed, a 21-day experience. Okay, I love that. And it can be found on Amazon. Okay, yes. Of course. It used to be on Barnes & Noble and iTunes, but Amazon actually was where it blew up when I first marketed it. Yeah. And so that's where it is. Yeah. There are a lot of eyes on Amazon, so a lot of eyes, and there's a lot of Black owned on Amazon. Yeah. So, and so that too. Yes, a ton. Yes, Black mom. Nice. And what about you? Thank you. I am Nia Hutchinson. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, mom of 2 and 2 bonus, so 4 kids. Total. Twins. Yes, who are at school. Super proud of those girls. Actually, all 3 of the girls are in school because my oldest, who is an adult, 27, is also in school. Yes. So she is ready to pursue different avenues in her life. So I'm super proud of them. I'm also the owner and creator of a women's subscription wellness box, Self Blossom, that is sponsoring this podcast. Which is created to support women through their journeys of self-care and self-love, and also really based around personal development. Yep. We are all on this hero's journey, and so it's just really about getting from the comfortable places of your life, your creature comforts, into these scary areas where you grow, develop, you learn to slay the dragon, you get friends along the way, and you take the prize home, and your life is forever changed. Yes. Slay that dragon. So, and yes, I am also a published author of a culmination of storytellings. Yes. Yeah, what else can I say about myself? I think that's about it. I mean, that is amazing. Amazing. And this is 8 Lenses. This is 8 Lenses. A Black Mom podcast. Thank you for joining. Thank you. How long was that?